August 2025. The war between Great Britain and the German Confederation has dragged on for longer than they expected. Multiple battles have been fought already, with many casualties on both sides. The war is shifting in Germany's favor, but the British are still holding. The previous battle, a poorly coordinated German cavalry charge, enabled the British to stand their ground, and despite much hard fighting, the Germans could not break through. The Kaiser is furious. He picks his best commanders, the most veteran generals, and marches once more against the Red Colors. This battle is what the Kaiser seeks, to put an end to the war, once and for all. On the afternoon of the 29th August, both the British and German armies came within a few miles of each other, and both began preparing for the next day's battle. The standard strategy of this period consisted in a massive artillery battery in the center, with a divisional square protecting it. The artillery would then be aimed at specific points of the enemy line. This concentrated fire was to destroy units and sometimes entire flanks. Infantry and cavalry would then make coordinated attacks to disorientate the enemy and eventually break it. The best commander of this strategy was Unique himself, the Field Marshal for Germany and overall commander. The British side would also be assisted by many distinguished veterans. Some would actively fight, some just watch how the battle developed. Some of these included former Swedish and French general staff. The last German troops arrived that night, leaving Germany with a good cavalry reserve, artillery guns, and infantry. Combat began when both sides reached opposite hills between two farmhouses, and an artillery duel began with hundreds of guns on both sides. Prince Probru was a capable commander, and when he saw that the right flank was greatly outnumbered, he immediately ordered the left to attack, trusting that Sith and Ukaleelek would hold well. The British right flank came under heavy artillery bombardment and infantry assault. With the risk of being charged down by German Lancer cavalry, heavy fighting broke down around the farmhouse. More and more troops stormed the buildings. Under this onslaught, the British fell back, and so the German left began to turn the enemy flank. The British took new positions on the hill, just outside of La Haye-Sainte, as both sides fought a giant cavalry battle, with each side trying to come on top, but the heavy pressure on their flank was too much. And soon the first British units began to break. But so far, the British only faced one German flank, and Unique saw that now was the time to send in Sith on the right. The British quickly committed one division to defend their flank, but they could not stop Sith's advance, which was supported by cavalry. The British were driven back until the German advance was checked by British artillery. But while all of the British artillery was focused on Sith, Dunno and Colt could easily push La Haye-Sainte without much opposition. This was exactly what Unique wanted. With the British cavalry drawn to face the German right, the left began a great attack and the British line began to buckle. When Sith resumed his attack around 2 p.m., the British line fell back in confusion. Their two flanks were now being pressed against their own center. The German artillery could not miss the closely packed British ranks, and casualties began to mount. A determined British counterattack drew Sith off the hill, though they couldn't keep his division out of the fight. Despite their hard-pressed right, the British decided to concentrate their cavalry on the left to try and break the disorganized German right. But Uku's men came forward to support the center, and the British cavalry could not exploit any gaps. Fighting continued to rage on the German right flank as the British captured part of the farmhouse, only to be counterattacked. Fighting around the farmhouse intensified, with almost the entire British right flank engaged and heavy cavalry on both sides trying to break the infantry. The farmhouse would change hands many times throughout the afternoon. When Unique pushed the center and the Grand Battery, a general attack began, with the British right pinned down with Colt and Dunno. Uku advanced in the center, Sith on the right, with Lancer cavalry supporting every part of the line. Around 6 p.m. the British were surrounded, outnumbered and attacked from all sides, and eventually broke, with Avron completing the encirclement by charging the British from the rear. With darkness falling and the Germans exhausted, the first day of the battle was over. But the British were not done yet.